Welcome back, panelists here. Democratic pollster Cornell Belcher, Peggy Noonan, columnist for the Wall Street Journal, Ashley Parker, White House reporter for the Washington Post, and Michael Schmidt, correspondent for the New York Times, had that big scoop over the weekend on Rudy Giuliani. Welcome to all of you. Before I get to Turkey specifically, Peggy, Jim Mattis, what do you make of what he said and what he didn't say and what he was trying to imply?
Oh, solid American opposed to what he thinks is a foreign policy blunder being made by the administration in northern Syria. I think he was frank about one of his central concerns, which is how the allies and friends of the United States view this decision to abandon people who have long been our friends. What did he not say? I think it was pretty clear he did not want to get into his experiences of and observations of the president he served as Secretary of Defense. One wonders if he will ever decide that it would be a good time to speak in a very candid way, or if he feels constrained perhaps by his position and the possibility of doing any damage. I'm not sure how he's thinking.
Yeah. A Marine is a Marine, and I think he views himself as being a Marine first, not a political warrior.
I thought that the interview was brilliant, and a lot of things he said but didn't say immediately, right out in front. And one of those things that came through for me was we are weaker now because of these actions, right? This is, he didn't say it, but this is basically cut and run. And America's cutting and running from an ally who fought for us, and ultimately that's not going to make us in the long run stronger. That's going to make us weaker.
Ashley, I want to look. The Republican criticism of this decision. Liz Cheney, impossible to understand. Lindsey Graham puts his presidency at risk. Marco Rubio, grave mistake. John Shimkus, a congressman who's not running again, says, pull my name off of the I support Donald Trump list. That was the warnings. This morning we have the reality. What happens next? Okay, they've criticized the decision. Now what?
Well, that's why you've seen so much concern going forward because of what was reported this morning. And I have to sort of reiterate how stunning it is to have Republicans break with this president on anything. So to have them come out and give that degree of criticism means there is deep alarm under the surface. They never, ever break with him. What next? I don't know. There's talk of bipartisan sanctions that could...
Elliot Engel talked about that, yeah.
They could potentially have a veto-proof majority. There's that. But at a certain point, what the president responds to most is his base. And so if he thinks that his base is going to move on this or he's going to lose them, that is the thing where you see him take a stance and retreat back. And I think that's what he's going to be looking for. He's going to be looking for the polls. He's going to be looking for his base. He's going to be looking at the response at his rallies more than he's going to be looking at what Leader McConnell says, frankly.
What group of people are most important to Donald Trump right now? The Senate Republicans.
So you think this is a big deal?
But why do you ask them to carry more for you? Those are the people that stand between Trump and the end of impeachment. That's it. There's no more Mueller. There's nothing else. You know what the House Democrats are going to do. So why ask more of them in this situation?
It's an odd darn thing. I can tell you also, I think it is legitimate to be asking, why did this happen? How did this happen? A phone call with Turkey's leader Erdogan.
Oh, Peggy,
last
this is
Sunday.
Twice now. Do you know that?
Yes, a lot of interesting phone calls.
An Erdogan phone call.
Yeah.
Like both times. The first time he announced that it was after an Erdogan. I actually asked General Mattis. I said, "What is it about Erdogan?" And he goes, "That's politics. I'm not going to get into that." You'll see that in the extended play version. But Erdogan clearly has a way. He has the playbook on how to encourage the president to his point of view.
Yeah, it looks to me, I don't know enough to say this, but one has the suspicion the president was rolled. I'm sorry, but the president of Turkey wants something. He says, can I have this? And the president of the United States says, sure. And there are repercussions and implications on this decision that were perhaps not imagined.
I'm going to put up something Susan Glasser in the New Yorker wrote. No.
I'm just here to amuse Cornell.
Yes, I do think that is your job this morning. Let me put up what Susan Glasser wrote, because it sort of merges these two issues of impeachment and the Syria situation. At this particular moment, the Republican fury at the president over the decision seems like an almost incomprehensible act of hypocrisy. How is it different from Trump's threatened abandonment of the Ukrainians and his apparent blackmailing of them for nakedly personal political reasons? Ashley?
Well, they are and they aren't different. What, the images you saw today, you have militias executing people on the side of the road. But what we saw with Ukraine, with the president asking for a favor, asking for a foreign government to potentially intervene in digging up dirt on arrival, and let's put that in context, that's coming on the heels of, we know that Russia meddled in the 2016 elections with the goal of helping the president, an assessment of his own intelligence community he doesn't always accept. That is also incredibly destabilizing and a very different sort of threat to the nation. It's basically an open invitation to any foreign country to meddle in our elections, and you have the president kind of coming out publicly calling on them to do it on Russia, on Ukraine, on China, and they can see that there's no repercussions, and just the mere fact of it is destabilizing to democratic institutions.
Michael Schmidt, about the one Republican I can think of that would link these two things is Mitt Romney at this point in the Senate side. It is not going to be a surprise to me if more start publicly linking this type of foreign policy, sort of a rogue foreign policy.
Well, that's the other thing about the call with Erdogan that just doesn't make sense. It is that same issue that is at the root of the Ukraine problem. And that is a call with a foreign leader in which things are discussed that maybe don't line up with the country's feeling about our foreign policy, things that, secret deals, trying to work the system. So amid an investigation, an impeachment investigation into that issue on Ukraine, you go ahead and you do a deal with Turkey.
Oh, by the way, there's a link. Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani has a client that Erdogan is really interested in, who is a Turkish gold trader in Turkey, never mind Ukraine. I mean, the irony that Rudy actually ties these two phone calls in some way.
No, I spent a lot of this week trying to understand Giuliani's clients, and it's really hard to get your head around, and I really struggled. But at the root of it is this problem. You can't have the president's lawyer out there doing business with foreign countries. There's just a reason why you don't mix those two things together.
Apparently, we're going to have to pass a law to prevent this in the future, right?
If the president needed investigators, he's in charge of the executive branch. Yeah. He has an FBI. He has a CIA. But why did he need Rudy Giuliani to do it?
It's called corruption.
Well, I think that the question of why did he need Rudy Giuliani is probably going to be at the heart of this impeachment.
It's called corruption.
Impeachment inquiry. I'm going to pause it there. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.